If you've ever wanted to make a Roblox ASYM game, you've probably realized one thing, that making a good one is actually quite difficult. Even when it comes to AI, it can't really make actual games for you yet. By the end of this series, you should have the knowledge to build your own ASYM game from scratch and make it better than the one I'm going to show you in the tutorial. So enough talking, let's open up Roblox Studio and get started. Okay, so here we are in Roblox Studio. So our main goal here is going to be creating a character class where we can have different values like stamina, health, and whatever else you're going to need, and all the details. So then next episode we can probably set up hitboxes. So what we're going to want to do is, to make sure we don't need to start editing code later on, we're going to try and make it as high quality as possible from the get-go. So first I'm going to create all the modules we need for a good character class, and then after that we're going to actually populate them and make them understandable, make them do stuff. First of all, we're just going to want a shared folder, and inside we can just do a character folder, and inside there we're going to want 5 module scripts. Now I'll explain why in a minute, but for now I'm just going to name them all what we're going to have. So we're going to need the character's animations, obviously. We're going to have the character's config, and that's basically, you know, how fast their stamina might regen, or how much stamina they have, or what their max health is, etc. We're going to have a health module, and that's going to be responsible for anything dealing with health, obviously. We're going to have stamina, same thing. And then finally we're just going to have character, and this module is going to be the one where we tie everything together. So starting off, we're just going to create some blank functions for now, and then we're going to go through and actually create them later. So first of all, we're going to want animation. Inside here I'm going to do animation dot underscore underscore index equals animation. So we're going to want a dot new animation, which is going to need a humanoid. I'll explain all of this, you know, not soon. And then here's a tip: if you do colon, and then you can actually state what it is. So for example, now in this function, the IntelliSense knows it's a humanoid, so it will give us the properties of a humanoid, which is quite useful. We're also going to need animation load, so let's go ahead and make that. We'll need one for playing it, and we'll need one for stopping it, and then one more just to get the animation, because we're going to be storing these animations in a table. Now let's move on to the character config. Now here I'm just going to put in some base values. You can really just choose whatever you want. It completely depends on what kind of game you're going for. But basically you just have character config dot, and then name them whatever you want. I'm just going to do default health for now. Right now I'm kind of just creating the default things. These are just going to be the character stats, and then we can vary them per character later on, like per unique survivor and killer. This is going to be in per second, just for reference. Now we've got health. Now health we are going to be custom doing, so we're not going to use humanoids, we're going to use our own like custom health system. Therefore we can like add stuff like invincibility frames or shields, or I don't know what, like damage reduction effects. Basically it's just going to be a lot more helpful. Health.new. So this is creating a new health like object, which we can give to a character, so then they can have all these different health functions. We're going to want health and then damage. That's probably the most obvious one, the amount. You can do heal. Not very common in Asym games, but we'll definitely need it at some point. Set max for some unique stuff down the line maybe. And finally we'll do is dead. We don't need that there. And this should probably be max health, or new max health. Nice. This should be everything we're going to need for health. So let's go on over to stamina, and we're going to repeat the process. This stamina module is going to be exclusively for handling, like adding and recovering and removing stamina. And then the character class itself will be in charge for manipulating like how fast it drains. And we'll do is empty, which we can allow so we can do some like exhaustion stuff later. That should be good for now. So now let's move on to character. This is where we're going to basically put everything together. So we're going to want to do character. So we're going to want a character.new so we can create a new character with all the functionality which we're going to need for Asym. We'll do a player character model as well, which I guess can be taken from the player, but if we're going to want custom rigs and also if we're going to want NPCs, we'll need the character model. So then we're going to have a function which is just character update, and this is what's going to run every frame. So I'll just put a comment there. This is going to be where we're going to handle things like stamina regeneration and draining. And our parameter is going to be dt, which stands for delta time, which is going to be the change in time between each update. So that means like if the server's laggy, then you're not going to lose stamina at a different rate. Set running, because we're going to need that. Take damage, heal, and is dead. That is part one done. We have now created our framework for how we're gonna go about creating the code. And now we are going to actually create the code itself. So we're going to start off just with health. So first of all, what we're going to need to do inside of health is we're going to set a meta table, which is basically just a table but better. There's a whole lot more videos on like if you actually want to learn about them, but I'm not really going to try to teach that right now. So we're going to we can just do max health there. So this is basically saying inside our health object we're going to have some attributes, and two of them are going to be its max and its current health. So for example, this is the one that's going to go down and heal, etc. And you know, once that one hits 0, you're going to die. Maybe, depending on the mechanics of your character, which we'll cover in a later video. And then we can just return the meta table. Inside of damage, for now, we are literally just gonna do a basic subtraction. We'll deal with like effects later on, but they're not really something to concern ourselves with right now. We just want to get the system working. Oh my goodness, my typing's awful. Okay. Heal, we can basically just do the same thing, but just make sure to replace this with a plus, this with self.max, and this with min. Next, we've got set max, which we will just say self.max equals new max health. and self.current. This error, I've just checked, this error is because if you want to make sure it doesn't do that in the future, you can just do number, and now the code knows this is a number. So you're comparing a number in the math function. And then here we're literally just going to do return current is less than or equal to 0. Easy. So that's health basically done for now, until we want to come back and add like effects. Stamina we can do next. So we're going to follow a similar process where we're going to create our meta table. That's going to be for stamina. And then same thing as before, self.max is going to be, actually no, let's use a proper self.current equals max. We'll also do last string. So this is going to be responsible for, knowing when we've last used our stamina, so we can add the regen delay, and then just return the self. Stamina drain, a pretty similar thing. We just want to make sure it doesn't go below 0, so we should, and then self.current minus amount. And that's just going to make sure that we don't have like negative stamina. If you do want negative stamina, just use that bit and remove the math.max. Last drain, and then just set that to the time. Recover is basically going to be similar. And then we don't want to go over our stamina, so we'll do self.max and self.current plus amount, and then take the lower value out of those. Self.max equals max stamina. New max stamina. Take that, put that there. Okay, and then we can use stamina is empty, same as before, just return self.current is less than or equal to 0. Okay, so that's the easy part of the stamina done. We'll cover the rest in character in a minute. First, we're going to do animations. Now, I don't think we're going to be actually custom animating characters this episode, but it's good to just get this done. So same thing as before, animation. Now what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to get our animator, because that's going to be something important we need. And then we'll do a tracks variable. Yeah, we'll do a tracks table, and that's going to store all the different animation tracks, such as, I don't know, playing an ability, or I don't know, anything like that. Right, loading animations. We're going to create an animation object, and when I say object, I quite literally just mean an object animation. We're going to give it the animation ID we want. We're going to have a key, and we're going to have a anim ID. So this is going to be the unique ID that Roblox uses, and this is going to be the one which we reference with, because we don't want to put in a long number every time we want to do a animation. We just want to say, oh, play the, I don't know, play the walk cycle. Then we've got animation object there, and that's basically it. Next we've got play, which is just get the track, which is going to be track. oops. Obviously you need the self there, and then name, which is going to be our unique identifier, I guess. If there's no track, we're just going to say there's no track, and then the name, and then return. And if there is a track, we're just going to do :play. Stop is similar thing, just copy and paste that. Name, track, stop. And now get is going to be, we're going to need the name yet again. And then we're going to return self.tracks name. So that's going to give us the animation track if we want to get it from the name. Inside of character, we are going to need a few things. Actually, before we even do that, let's set some stuff up. We're just, I think, going to need a run service definitely for now. But apart from that, I don't think we'll need many others as of now. And then we're going to need all our modules. So all the things we've just created, we're now going to require them. So we're going to need, yeah. Actually, let's just do local shared folder equals, there we go. So we can just do shared folder dot character config, and then we'll just repeat this with all of them. So now we've got our modules, we can come into character and we can start table character. Okay, so in the function, when you want to update the function, we're going to check firstly if the character's running. Then if they are, we're going to drain their stamina. And otherwise they're going to regen if they can. So first we're going to do the drain stamina. So our drain function, which we added or created, character config multiplied by delta time. So basically, the longer in between runs this takes, the more stamina it will drain. So then overall it will drain the same amount, no matter how slow the function is. Stamina. Set it running, and we're going to set it running to false. This should have a parameter in it. So should this, and so should this. Now we can go down here. That was the easy part, and now we can go down here and we can just check. I'm just going to delete that. Check if, so we're going to do if the time right now minus the time since their last stamina drain is more than or greater than or equal to how long it should take, or how long the wait should take before you start regenerating, then you can recover. this line will basically say that it's going to check the amount of time since last drain, and then check the amount of time you have to wait before you can regenerate. And then if you've, not sprinted for a longer amount of time, then you're going to recover stamina. This is basically just making sure that if your stamina is empty, you're not going to try and run. And then we're going to make sure if you're running, you get the speed boost. Else you're going to get just the slow. Take damage, we can do self.health, go on damage. Now this seems kind of pointless for now, but once we add like effects and stuff, it will do a lot more. Check they're dead is just and we're actually, let's add a function at the bottom. And this is just gonna clear a lot of this stuff up. So self.player is gonna be nil. Self.model is also gonna be nil. Self.humanoid, nil. Self.root, what's a surprise? Nil. Okay, now what we want to do is come up to the character.new, and here we're gonna do a connection. And what we want to do is basically just create some logic that says every frame run this update function. Okay, and then that also means down here when we're destroying the character, just before we do all of that, setting things to nil, if there is a connection, then disconnect it. And then just set it to nil. So there's no disconnected connection being stored, because that's a bit of a waste. And now what we're going to do is we're going to make it actually work. Because right now we've got the code, but it's not actually going to do anything if we test out the game, because there's not really anything to do. These modules aren't linked up to anything yet. So now we're going to create a script, and this is going to be our character manager. And what it's going to do is basically say, oh, when a player joins, we're going to turn them into a character and give them all this logic which we've made. So we're going to need players. I'll format this later. We're going to need our character class. We're going to want an active characters table. We're going to want replicated storage. Oh, that's a bad order to do it in. Take that. And now what we want is we're just going to add a folder for remote events. And add one. Just call it like, I don't know, let's just call it sprint for now. And basically we're going to create a client script which is going to tell the server to sprint, or for their character to sprint. Okay, so let's just start with that because that's kind of easy. do player. Okay, wait, let's not start off with that. Let's just create the functions first. So we're going to want a function to create the character. We're going to want one to remove it. The player. So now if we just do get the character and turn it into a player, or get the player's character and turn it into a Asym character, should I say. Oh, that's going to create an error. Character model, because we've already got a character variable. Okay, we can't do that either. When the character's removed, we're going to do the same thing. We don't actually need this here. Then just do the remove character function. Just so if they leave, then it also removes their character. New character. It's going to be character.new player character model. So put that in there as well. And then we're going to store it as the player. I think that's probably easiest. Just in case it's not deleted yet, you can do so that just removes the old character, just in case this function wasn't called. Okay, nice. And then yeah, this is basically the same thing as up here. Just gonna copy that. And we're going to do, let's do the sprinting now because we know the inputs. So if it's just going to be sprinting as a remote, then we're going to have the character model again. Actually, no, we want the character class itself, don't we? If we don't have one, then return. I don't know why we wouldn't, but that's a issue to debug if it actually happens. Sprint run sprinting. Type of sprinting. One type of. Just in case it's not true or false, if the client's sending stupid stuff to the server will ignore it. Almost done now. We're going to have a client script called the sprint client, and this is kind of just going to be a placeholder for now, but what we want to do inside of here is just control sprinting from the client. This will be part of like a completely different script at some point. So it doesn't really matter if it's properly formatted. So we're going to do if input .keycode equals enum.key. Now you can set this is going to be your sprint key, so you can set it to whatever you want. I'm just going to do left shift. And then later on I'll set like, I don't know, I'll probably set left control to shift log. And we basically just want a file server true. So we're saying when we press down left shift, we want to start sprinting. Next, we'll just do input ended, which is a very similar thing, apart from it's going to fire false. If you want to force R6, go to avatar settings, click the three dots to the top, R6 only, save and restart, and then everyone will be R6. That should have been character class, not character. That should have been self and not character. Number value. We just add a stamina value here for now, and then just do shared.stamina.value, self.stamina.current. Basically just updating your stamina so you can see it, and then go down to 0. Here it is, it's at 100 right now, and I start losing it, and then it stops, and it regenerates after a second, and then it goes back down once I start to run again. And if it hits 0, I get forced to stop, and I can't really move. So yep, that's basically the character setup. So it might not look like much that we've done, but it's actually a whole lot, because we need this for all the different like killers and survivors that are going to come later on in the series. Hopefully episode 2 should be coming soon as well. Bye bye.